third story. So as I was pondering on this, those were the only stories I had when I did this class the first time. And I was pondering on it and just thinking, Heavenly Father said, but wait, there's more. And this were the other stories that he told me. So when I was, 18, I don't know what 18 was, but 18, I also got my wisdom teeth out. I don't know how I survived to adulthood, but I did. So I got my wisdom teeth out, and things went normal. I might have gotten sort of a dry socket. Not a big deal. Everything was fine, cool, bright as rain. My mouth fills up, the stitches come out, life moves on. Now I remember this because it was my 19th birthday. And I had been feeling rotten on my 19th birthday, but I didn't really think anything of it. I kind of had a fever, I kind of was feeling slow, but life was life, and there's too much to do to slow down. And so I was moving and I was moving and I was going and things were happening. And I ended up, I don't know why we did this, but my mother planned a teeth cleaning for my birthday. Like, happy birthday, Allison, go get your teeth cleaned. Maybe that's why I don't go to dentists anymore. Anyhow, so I had a teeth cleaning, and we went, and I got my teeth cleaned. And he was checking things over and checking in my mouth, because that's what dentists do. And he went, Allison, have you noticed a puffy spot at the bottom of your gums? And I was like, nope, I'm oblivious. And he's like, well, let's do x-rays. So he did x-rays and discovered what looks like a tiny film canister calcified into the bone of my jaw. And he's like, have you gotten your wisdom teeth out lately? And I was like, yeah, like 6-7 months ago. And he's like, they left a drill bit in your mouth. A drill bit. So what they had been using to get my tooth out, they then left in my mouth. So the tooth came out, the drill bit stayed. And needless to say, my body had hit a point where it could reject it no longer. It was fed up with having it in my mouth, and it was telling me in no uncertain terms it was time to leave. And so I said, you need to get in contact with that oral surgeon, and they need to take it out. Of course, the poor gentleman freaked out of his mind and said, yep, free of charge, please come in tomorrow, we'll take care of all of it. Here, have some antibiotics, you'll be fine. So I got surgery, we took it out. Long story short, I was fine. But I've always wondered, how could something that I didn't even know was there wreak so much havoc on me? Like, I had no clue that it was there. I mean, it had lived in there inside of me for 6 months with nary a word, nary a complaint. It didn't hurt at all. And then all of a sudden, it essentially erupted into my present day life. And so I would invite you guys to think about what are things that you didn't really realize were there, you didn't think would be there, that just erupt into your everyday life. And they catch you by surprise, and they take your breath away, and you go, how did that get there? Because just like I was having a routine surgery of wisdom teeth, everybody does it. It kind of happens before you go on a mission, or it happens if it's causing problems. Everybody does this thing. Yet there were ramifications and repercussions that I didn't know would happen, and then all of a sudden they happened. And so often this happens in our life. We are going on about our life, normal things are happening, we go on missions, or we go to a new ward, or we move, or we get married, or we lose a family member that we love, we break up with someone. All of these things that everybody goes through, yet for us, they take our breath away. And for us, they sort of erupt into our lives, and we go, what is my problem? Everybody else seems to be handling this so well. Everybody else seems to be managing this so much better than me. And then we start beating ourselves up, and we start hounding on ourselves and shaming ourselves. Oh, well, you see that person down the street. She's had like 8 kids, and she doesn't have any problems. And I'm over here with like 1, or me, and I don't even have any. And I'm like, wow, life is hard. So there are so many different things, and we can get so caught in comparison and so stuck in this idea that everybody else seems to be managing it better. I have a secret. If anybody else had had a drill bit left in their mouth, stuff would have happened for them too. But the thing is everybody's drill bits are different. Everybody's thing that hurts them is unique. And just because someone else handles the loss of a spouse of 30 years, or because somebody else handles having 8 kids, or because someone seems rooted in the gospel no matter what, you don't know what their thing is, so you have no right to compare your thing to their thing, because it's different. Final story. Story number 4. I give you full permission to laugh at me. Heaven knows that I have laughed at myself a lot about this story. 9th grade, 8th grade. I wasn't 16 yet. 8th grade. There was this really cute boy in 8th grade. Word dashed. As I already mentioned, really loved tall, so soft-spoken, shy boys. And this kid fit the bill like you wouldn't believe. And he was so nice. I'm also a sucker for boys who are nice to me because I have a track record of boys calling me things like cow, or they run from me in terror, or any number of things. And so for me, I just had a thing for boys who were really nice. And they didn't pass judgment, and they weren't weird. They were just like, hey, you're a nice person, let's hang out. And he did that all the time. I played basketball with he and a group of his friends. I might have sliced him on the arm with my fingernail. He forgave that one, so that was cool. He was just a really nice guy, and I had a huge crush on him. And it was time for the 8th grade dance. And I asked him like 3 weeks in advance if I could dance with him because I was awkward. I had no idea how to explain that I thought he was cute. So I just went, can I please dance with you? And he promised me a dance. And we got to the night of the dance, and hello, he was charming, and he was nice, and he was tall, and he was soft-spoken, and he was like the epitome of manhood to me in 8th grade. And he was to like 19 other girls at the school too. And so because he's a sweetheart, he said yes to every one of us to dance with us that night. Guess what? 25 girls, I know I just said 19, but more of them popped up that night. So if 25 girls ask you to dance and there's only 24 songs, who do you turn down? You turn down the nice one because you know she won't be crappy about it later. So he came over to me and he said, I'm really sorry, but essentially my dance card is full. You'll have to find me some other time. And he did it so sweetly and he did it so kindly that I went, okay. He called me that night and he said, there's a stake dance tomorrow night. Can my brother and I come pick you up and we'll dance? My mom said no. Because I was 15, it was a fast Sunday weekend. And in our home, you stay home on fast Sunday weekends. So I got to tell this sweet young man no. And for the rest of my high school career, I watched him say yes to every girl in the school, except for me. I don't let things go. I'm working on that. It's kind of humorous that I'm teaching a class about let go techniques. Working on it. But I did. Eventually I did let it go. I hung on all through high school. I swear I stalked him a little bit, but with really good intentions, and I was never creepy. But I always tried to show up at just the right time, and it never worked. And finally I hit a point where all the boys of our class were going on missions, and it was time for me to move on. And so I did, because that's what you do. You move on. Well, enter 2 months ago. My husband and I are walking to a concert up on campus. And I'm really excited for the concert because the concert's exciting. The sidewalk is incredibly slick and it is so cold outside that I'm trying to rush to get into the Fine Arts Center so I don't freeze. So I'm talking to my husband and I'm a little loud. So everybody knew that I was there. And we get to the light and I'm talking to him about campus because I work there, so I think I know everything. And this guy and this girl standing further up at the light turn around and he says, Allison? And there he was. The young man that I had dreamed about way too much through high school was standing there with his wife. And I was standing there with my husband. I didn't remember his wife's name and we went to school together. Huge clue, you just hit awkward land if you can't say her name and you're staring at her husband. Whew. But what seeing him that night did for me was bring up every time that I had been turned down. What seeing him that night brought me back to my 15-year-old self, of wondering why I wasn't good enough for anyone, of wondering if my life would have been different if I had said yes and gone against my parents' wishes. They would have let me. I don't think they even would have grounded me, but they would have given me the look. And I don't know if you guys know, but I'm terrified of the look. And so I had to come to terms with the fact that I had made a myriad of other choices other than that choice, and that I did love and value the life that I had, even if for a moment there was a part of me that wondered if life would have been very different if I had made a different choice. The thing is the adversary absolutely loves grinding in our faces when we think things could be different, and absolutely loves pulling up every choice that we have ever made and making us feel guilty about it, or shame about it, or regret over it, or hurt over it, or a myriad of things. And so I want to invite you all to think about what is something that the adversary has been hanging over your head. Something that is years old and there is nothing you can do about it. There is no amount of apology. There is no amount of, I wish I could do things differently. There is no amount of, if only I had a time machine, that will fix it. And what is it that he is still holding over your head? Because we cannot live our lives in the past. And that past might be an 14-foot fall. It might be a drill bit stuck in our mouth. It might be a second grade self that feels very embarrassed. Or it might be you looking at someone and going, oh, wow, the past and the future just met and it hurt. Whatever it is, I want you to think about that. Because it can be so easy to hold on to any of those things. And maybe it's not like my stories, because you have your lives and you have your things. But I would invite you to think about, what are things that you really wish that you could let go, but you just haven't been able to? And I'm going to give you 2 minutes, because whatever is on your list of the 2 minutes, we are then going to try something to see if we can finally let it go. So 2 minutes, be free.